When you think of the army in any country, what is one word that often comes to your mind? Service, valor, courage. What about attention? Right? You think of training, attention. And what is the Hindi word for that? Savdhan, correct? I had heard somewhere, सावधानी के नाम है साधना. सावधानी के नाम है sadhana, which means the mindful person, the one who is attentive, is always engaged in sadhana. And this also means the one who's engaged in sadhana, the one who's practicing what they're learning, that person becomes more aware. Right now, throughout North America, and specifically in the Northeast, there is an intense weather system that is causing a lot of challenges with flying and driving and just being outside. And with all of these challenges, we tend to get imbalanced. And in our imbalance, we get weakened. People start to become frustrated, people start to become bitter. Now, there's a reason for this. It's not a legitimate reason, but there's a reason for this. But for us, if it's not the weather, it's someone's illness. If it's not someone's illness, it's financial concerns. If it's not financial concerns, it's how people are interacting with me. We are always subject to this imbalance. And it is when we are imbalanced that we need the most awareness. We need to practice sadhana the most. And this is why we are studying a course. And remember the context of this course. There is an old man who is dying. And Acharya Shankara is teaching him to study his own life and to use his life. And using his life means in the form of service. So for us too, some of us may be that old man, but if we're not that old man specifically, we're definitely in the context of that old man. We do not know what the next moment will bring to us, positive or negative. And we all know lots and lots and lots of stories, happenings related to that. Just today, as Sheila and I were driving to Pittsburgh, we heard on the news that a family of 4 had died in a house fire last night in a nearby city. The grandmother died, the 15-year-old died, the 2-year-old died, and one of the adults was able to get out. And it makes you think, why? Why was it that those 3 died and the other one got out? How come the 15-year-old couldn't get out either, if you look at physical strength? But they couldn't. And I'm just giving you one very tactile example that happened in the last 12 hours. And I'm sure you all know similar happenings. Our Moha Mudgara course, our Bhaja Govindam, we're not studying an outside subject, we are studying an inside subject. Last week, we focused on maturity. And Acharya Shankara says that we're all maturing outside. Our body is growing taller and then shorter. Our body grows from chubby to thin to chubby. We go from no hair to no hair, right? We're maturing outside, but Acharya Shankara is trying to encourage us to ask if we're maturing inside. We're maturing with sight, but are we maturing with vision? And through such study, we do come to understand if we're maturing or not. But even without this study, I feel you and I, through Bhagwan's grace, through the Guru's grace, we have those insights where we know that, yeah, I am growing, I am maturing, or the other way around. Today I had one of those insights. Today was a more demanding day than usual. And there's many times when I wanted to vent about how much needs to be done. And I did, in a minimal way. I kept most of it to myself. And I was thinking to myself, I was happy that I wasn't blaming. I wasn't making excuses. And I was happy that the Sadguru, that Bhagwan gave me this insight that, Vivek, this is how you know if you're growing inside, is when you don't vent, when you don't need to vent. So many sociologists will share, you should vent, you should talk to people about your problems. And for someone who's tamasic or rajasic, yeah, you should. But you and I are trying to go to sattva. We're trying to go past that, which requires us to internalize, to take responsibility. And at a very physical level, it's like an engine. The more efficient an engine is, the less it needs to vent, the less it overheats. The more inefficient an engine is, the more it needs to cool down and so on. Imagine your personality as an engine. And if you get heated up very easily by circumstances, that maturation is not there. But if you can stay cool under all circumstances, then you know that you're maturing inside. Everyone's cool right now? Okay. We continue with our 13th shloka, which actually completes a section of Bhaja Govinda. And I'll tell you how these sections work. Bhaja Govindam, this text has one message, and it's the title of the text, Bhaja Govindam. What does bhaja mean? How do you start bhaja? By singing. That evolves to seeking. That evolves to serving. It evolves to worshiping. It evolves to loving. And the highest form of bhaja is to be. Being. So that's Acharya Shankara's message. Bhaja towards Govinda. Govinda means the one who controls cows. The one who controls earth. The one who controls speech. The one who controls Veda. Cows is relatively easy, even though it's really hard also. And then earth obviously is much more difficult. Your speech is even more difficult, isn't it? It's much easier to look after a garden than to control your speech. And the most is the Veda, which is about you. Shloka 1. The next 12 shlokas are a commentary on the first shloka. So the word Bhaja Govindam is the message, and then the next 12 shlokas are an explanation of that. So we will study the 12th elaboration of that. This is all attributed to Acharya Shankara. Now, how many disciples are traveling with him? How many disciples are traveling with Acharya Shankara? In what city? Kashi or Varanasi. There's 14 disciples with him. There's 14 disciples. The next 14 shlokas, which will begin in the new year, there's a shloka from each of his shishyas. So Bhaja Govindam is the message. Then you have 12 shlokas on 2 words. Then you have 14 shlokas on 12 shlokas on 2 words. And then we'll complete our study with 4 more shlokas, which are a summary of those 2 words. So what are we supposed to do with our life? Just 2 words. Bhaja comes from us. Govinda is to that altar, that creator, that self. I'll chant. You all please repeat. Kate kanta dhanagata chinta Vatula kim tava nasti niyanta Trijagati sajjana sangati reka bhavati bhavarnavatarane nauka bhaja govindam govindam bhaja mudamate. Acharya Shankara says here, Kate Kanta, who is your, Kanta means wife, spouse, relationships. And he also mentions dhana. Dhana here means money, it means wealth, and in the deepest sense, it means security. And he's saying, Chinta. What are you worried about? Why are you worried about your relationships? Why are you worried about your possessions? This first line reminds me of back in the day when people would watch TV. So at 11 o'clock, there would be like a weird sound, like an alarm, a siren, and then like a blank screen. And then it would say, it's 11 p.m. Where are your children? Do you all remember seeing that? It's why do they have to have such messages? Shouldn't you know where your children are, whether it's 11 o'clock or 9 o'clock or whatever time? But maybe it's for those parents who are a little bit less mindful. Acharya Shankara is saying in this first line, where is your mind? It's 8:34 p.m. Eastern Time. Where is your mind? It's 8:34 and 31 seconds. Where is your mind? So he begins that right away. And he's saying, how are you finding your security? Are you finding your security through your relationships? Are you finding your security through possessions? And he's really asking, is this working for you? Have you found security? And even deeper than this, he's saying is, you're probably tired of trying to arrange your relationships and arrange your possessions to find security, and you're tired because it's not possible. It is not possible to find security through these avenues, through these articles, beings, circumstances. And in Swami Chinmayananda's commentary, he says, it's not that the world is stronger than us. It is worry that makes us weaker than the world. The world is not stronger than us if both are at their base level. But through worry, through projection, we make ourselves weaker than the world. And then we go about blaming. We go about using the word problem, and on and on and on. In the next line, Acharya Shankara calls us Vatula. And this is a really wonderful word. Vatula has two meanings. Vatula means the one who's enlightened, and Vatula also means the one who is an idiot. Vatula means the one who's mad, the one who's crazy, the one who's confused. So the same word Vatula, the one who has no doubts, and then also the one who has no doubts because they're so confused. Same meaning. You can all hear me and see me. I think we've all frozen. You can hear me and see me. Yes? No? Okay. All of you turn your video off, please. I'll keep my video on. You turn your video off. Wow, you're all experts at using Zoom now. Fast, 15 seconds and done. Let's see who's the last class that is still learning. Okay, we're down to 3 centers. Who's it going to be? Oh, one center came off and came back on. Okay, now the chat room is there. So Somya, if it's not working out, then please let me know if you there's a break in my audio specifically. I had asked all of you to watch the talks on Sadhana Panchakam. And the 34th piece of advice that Acharya Shankara gives to his disciples is Paratare Cheta Samadhiyata, which means we have to take this mind well and fully, and we have to immerse it in that which is para, in that which is the highest. And he says that if we are able to do that, if we're able to immerse our mind in the highest, then what happens is our mind becomes quiet. But if we take that same mind and immerse it in that which is apara, that which is not the highest, then the mind doesn't find quietude, the mind becomes disturbed. Put differently, does pleasure bring you peace? Does possessions bring you peace? Does position bring you peace? Does peace bring you peace? So that's what Acharya Shankara is saying here. He's saying don't be a vatula, as in a foolish person. Be vatula. Be someone who's enlightened, someone who's clear that only peace can bring peace. And he says, Kim tava nasti niyanta. He says you can bring quietude to your mind by realizing, don't you have someone who's looking after you? Niyanta means ordainer, governor, caretaker, custodian. In other words, he's saying, aren't you fine so far? Now, if you're 20 years old, you're fine so far. If you're 50 years old, you're fine so far. And many of us will think, but then when we're 75, when we're 80, then we'll become ill. The people around us may not care for us. We studied some of those shlokas. But remember, when you think of becoming older, you're thinking about it in one specific embodiment. Start to go to a macro. How many embodiments are you? You've been looked after for 60 years, and suppose 10 years become hard, and then we pass away, but then we're reborn into a circumstance that is good for us. Aren't you still being looked after? Every experience we go through is for our self-development. We are being looked after thus far. We will also be looked after in the future. There's that Hindi saying, Ab tak nibhaya hai, aage bhi nibha lena. Something like that, which means you've looked after me so far, keep looking after me. It's so beautiful that the last shloka that Acharya Shankara shares for some time is about faith. Have faith. Trijagati sajjana sangati reka. Trijagati means these three planes of existence, these three lokas, these three fields of experience. Sajjana, which really means sat jana. Sat means those people who know existence, those people who live the truth, those people who are noble. Become sajjana. Sangha, by associating with them. Eka, this is the only way. The only way to stop worrying is to be with those people, to associate with those personalities that also don't worry, and they don't worry because they're connected to nobility. They're living dharmically. They're connected to the truth. They're courageous. They're connected to existence. They know what's important. When we use the word association here, it really means revolve. Trijagati can be interpreted as in your waking state, dream state, and sleep state. Can be interpreted as your causal body, your subtle body, and your gross body. As your thoughts, words, and actions. The past, present, and future. So Acharya Shankara says, we have to revolve around this with all levels of our personality. We have to be with those who are noble. And we've shared in an earlier shloka that we overestimate how strong we are, and so we expose ourselves to negativity, and then we succumb to that negativity. I really like the word eka here, which means this is the only way. You know that saying, if you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got. If you always associate with the same type of people, you will always think in the same way. In Niagara Falls, in 2001, Niagara Falls, Canada, we had around 14 million people who visited the city. Now that number has come down to around 7 million people. Why? Because prior to 2001, you didn't need a passport. Americans didn't need a passport to come to Canada. You can go with the driver's license. I know people who have gone across the border there and back without any, driver's license. Oh, I forgot it. And they said, yeah, fine. But now that Americans have to have a passport, the typical American doesn't have a passport. The typical American doesn't travel outside of 500 miles from their home. So if you're in Texas, 500 miles, you're still in Texas. Pennsylvania is not different. Don't think, oh yeah, those Texans. And everyone thinks the same way. But if you go to Ecuador, if you go to Papua New Guinea, if you go to Rarotonga, if you go to Korea, if you go to any state in Bharat, you go from Odisha to West Bengal, to Kerala, to Gujarat, to Himachal Pradesh, you start to think in new ways, isn't it? If I'm always around people who are using the word problem, I will too. But if I start to surround myself with people who use the word training, I start to use that same vocabulary. I start to think the same way. Newness. Satsang brings newness. And Swami Chinmayananda in his commentary says, your Sangha has to be constant. And not just constant, it has to be continuous. He says in Satsang, these are people who have a vision. They have this vision of life, and not just vision, but mission. They act on that vision. Many people have a vision, but they don't act on it. No mission. Many people have a mission, but they don't have a vision to their mission. So he's describing how satsang should be. And then finally, Acharya Shankara says, Bhavati. Let this be. Use this. Do this. Bhavarnava tarena nauka. He's saying this association with those who are noble is the only way to sit in this boat. Nauka means boat. To go over this Bhavarnava. Bhavarnava means this ocean of samsara, this ocean of becoming. I've often used the word bhavaroga, the disease of becoming. You and I are lost in this disease of becoming. We want to become rich. We want to become powerful. We want to become parents. We want to become grandparents. We want to become owners. We want to become a citizen of this city. We want to go to become a student of this school. We want to become a shishya of this organization. We all want to become. And if you're always becoming, that means you're not being, which is the final form of bhaja, correct? The way to go over, and the way that Valmiki ji describes this, he says, samsara is to drown in the sea of mundane existence. Mundane existence. How do you know if you're drowning in the sea of mundane existence? If you're scared of Mondays. Mundane existence. If you have likes and dislikes towards your responsibilities, mundane existence. If you don't have a love for life, mundane existence. If you would prefer to sleep than be awake, mundane existence. Mundane existence means I don't have a purpose. And Acharya Shankara says, satsang brings you purpose. Someone who has purpose doesn't worry. someone who doesn't have purpose, they have nothing that brings out the best in them. So they play mind games with themselves and then others. This word nauka. Nauka means boat. What other scriptures or stotras have you heard this word nauka in? Guru Paduka Stotra. The Guru's Padukas are also known as a nauka. And it's the Guru's connection to nobility and truth that helps a shishya like you and I to find purpose. Guruji had shared with this shloka. I keep wanting to say chopai. I'm in Ramayana mode. He shared it with this chopai. He says, feeling one is indispensable is an illusion. Feeling one is indispensable is an illusion. And see, he's saying, I worry about my family. What will they do without me? In some cases, they'll be happier. What will happen to my possessions without me? Good, it will go to other people. What is one of Arjuna's names related to wealth? It's a beautiful name. We have many students in our class that have this name. Dhananjaya. You know what had happened? Why he got this name? Dhananjaya. During the Ashwamedha Yaga, when that horse was sent to whatever direction, Arjuna followed this horse, and he found that many kings were hoarding that wealth. And so he took that wealth and he used the wealth. In other words, he distributed, he built infrastructure. That's how he came to be known as the one who's victorious over dhana. That doesn't mean he has the most or he hoarded that. It means he used dhana most efficiently. And when I was studying economics, I had heard this also. If I have $1, this total room has $1. But if I have $1 and I buy something from him, and then he uses this to give it to him, and then he shares this with her, now in this room we have $4. From the vision of economics, it's not $1 anymore, it's now $4. That was copied from Dhananjaya. I think Adam Smith is the father of economics. His father is Arjuna. So this idea of feeling indispensable is an illusion. And isn't it amazing how Swami Tejamananda is acting on this by transitioning from being the head of Chinmay Mission to someone else being that? He's not just saying being indispensable is an illusion, he's showing it's an illusion. Swami Tejamananda also shared this message, and I'm going to read it directly to all of you. He said, our job with the universe, and he used the word job, our job with the universe is to observe, understand, and trust. Our job with this universe, the word jagat is used, is to observe. Don't own, but observe. Ownership doesn't mean legally. It means mentally. Legally, you have to own your home. You have to own your children legally. But mentally, be an observer rather than an owner. When you observe, you tend to understand better, correct? Everyone put their hand in front of their nose. Can you see the lines on your hands? Can you see anything about your hands? But if you take a step back, now you can see your lines, correct? You can see what's on your hand. You understand your hand better. And how do you know if you're understanding the multiverse more? You become more trusting. As long as you're a very suspecting person, we've not understood the universe, and it's because we've not observed the universe. Here, when Acharya Shankara uses the word universe, he's referring to the creator of the universe. Right now, I just completed a satsang on finding your courage. And what was the first way to find your courage? Know vastness. Know your nature is infinite. We didn't really get that. So we came down to know change. All is changing. Embrace change rather than fight change. And we didn't get that either. So we came down to know responsibility. We have responsibilities. Anyone who's created has a responsibility to creation. If you're not created, you do not have responsibilities. And isn't it beautiful for this person who's enlightened? They're not created. They become the creator. Their responsibilities are complete. And we didn't get that either. So we came down finally to don't tell God how big your problems are. Tell your problems how big your God is. Observe, understand, and trust. If you trust, that means you're not engaged in, what was the focus of this shloka? You're not worried. With this, we complete the Dwadasha Manjirika Stotra. You know the word Manjari? We know some Manjaris. Manjaris means a blossom. Manjari means freshness. So Dwadasha Manjari, what this means is Acharya Shankara has given us 12 flowers. He's given us 12 ways to live more freshly. And that's not with Old Spice deodorant or Irish Spring soap or Purell hand sanitizer. It's with vision. We are studying a darshana to go from our eyes to our intellect. Oh.